righty, we are live. Welcome in, everybody. We have a special guest with us tonight. James, welcome in. Peter, Michael, the star of the show yesterday, welcome. Thank you for coming on for a few minutes as we talk some Louisville baseball. James, I'll let you get started. I know you have a couple questions, and then we'll go from there.
Peter, I just want to highlight my main question I want to ask you is whenever you were looking at where you were going to play baseball this season, what was it about Louisville that made you feel that's home?
Great question. So I mean, my first 2 years of college baseball obviously didn't go the way that I wanted it to. A lot of it, I was just trying to find my footing in a lot of senses, and coaching staffs, culture, opportunity. That those were all really big things coming from where I had been, and Louisville. It was middle late summer. Really trying to discern. I had a lot of offers at that point, just trying to discern where I was going to be able to not only fit in but enjoy what would be the rest of my baseball career, collegiate baseball career, right? And so Coach Williams, great story. Had just been on a visit to another institution, come back the night before start. Coach Williams texts me. We had a couple conversations before. He says, "Hey, planning on coming out to your start today. You still interested in Louisville?" I said, of course, would love to see you there. At this point, I had just been on a 3-day visit to a different school, probably was thinking about going there. And then Coach Williams comes up to my game. Started off a little shaky. I think I had a couple walks in the first inning, and a lot of coaches that had, been to other games, if they had seen that, they would have left right after that, right? But Coach Williams, man, he stuck through it. He watched that first inning and the struggles that I had, and then ended up going 7 innings, 1 hit baseball with, I think, 11 strikeouts. And I saw him in the 6th inning hop on the phone. He was trying to get all these different angles of me video, just see me from a bunch of different vantage points, see him on the phone in like the 6th inning, end up meeting him after the game. We talked for 3 hours after the game. Basically, the entire place shuts down around us. We then get into my parents' car because they were in town out in Minnesota for that week. We talked more, right? And then continued to just have conversations over the next few days. Lucky enough for him and to have him fly me out with the rest of my family to go visit Louisville on Sunday. That was Thursday. So Sunday, really quick turnaround, right? Needed to make a decision with the other schools by Monday. And then, at the end of the day, talked it over with my family. A lot of prayer, a lot of discernment, put it in God's hands. And it was one of those things where it just seemed like a no-brainer after meeting the coaching staff, meeting someone like Coach Williams, who just had so much faith in me. Like it's where I needed to be. A lot of stability, great culture. And obviously, I mean, it's one of the best baseball programs in the country. So, man, just very blessed to be put in that position.
During
Absolutely.
the game, the 4th inning, they interviewed Dan, and he mentioned how you prepare throughout the weekend. Is that how much of that is the steady improvement week to week? Like you started off great against Arizona, but you're getting better each week. How much of that is your preparation going into that?
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to the adversity that I've had in the past 2 years, right? Being a reliever, struggling, not being able to necessarily command as well as I have been here. Uh, Being able to prepare yourself and being professional about it, like that's what separates good versus great and great versus incredible, right? And so for me, not only is it helping mentally, but it also helps just trust the process that you have. And so I've been able to create a really good process with the help of guys like Patrick Forbes, Parker Detmers, the grad assistants we have here like Jalen, and then Coach Williams, Coach McDonald, obviously. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm uber prepared by the time I pitch on Sunday. It starts Thursday night with Coach Allman. I'm watching video on every single hitter that the lineup has for the given team I'm facing that week. I'm looking at what their swing tendencies are, patterns, where I want to pitch them, where I'm kind of thinking, okay, this is where my stuff plays to certain guys. I'm looking at their splits, numbers. This is like a 45 to an hour process. Then going in for Friday, we do hitters chart, which is basically in-game analysis of what their swing looks like. And again, I'm watching Patrick throws 99, and I'm like, yeah, does this necessarily equate to me? No, but I'm just looking at how the guys are setting up. Are they on the plate, off the plate? Do they have wrapped barrels? So if their bat's around their head, or if it's straight up, or if it's, a little lopsided. Looking at where their hands are. So if they're a little lower, it's harder for them to get onto the upper half of the zone, and it's easier for them to drop their hands lower in the zone. So that's my preparation Thursday, Friday. Saturday is game chart. So it's basically each pitch, which location and where it's at. And that's usually when Parker or Jack Brown or one of those guys throws, or, Brendan cuts. And so I'm able to kind of dictate, okay, these guys aren't liking the balls in. They're getting outs on pitches on the outer half. Where are they being successful in 3-ball counts, 2-ball counts, 2-2 counts? And, again, trying to put myself and visualize myself in that position. And then Sunday, Saturday night, I journal, big journaler, affirmations, working on, okay, what's my process for the next day going to look like? I write it all out, get my own personal game plan on the 3 days prior that I want to attack them with. And yeah, that's a very, very abbreviated version of what I go through, but it's like you're studying for a test, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to get as much knowledge and as much information on each individual hitter that by the time I'm on the mound and I toe the rubber, I've already faced you 5 times with each pitch and each count. So it's like I get into a massive situation where it's man on second and third and 3-2 count and I land a slider. Like I've been there. I've made the pitch 100 times prior. So it's all in the mental preparation, and then it also just leads to the physical execution. So
Yeah, I've got a question. It's a little bit more complex, I guess. But when you're going to start on Sundays.
mm.
So coming into that, do you prefer, any of the catchers that are on the roster? Do you prefer any particular one over the other, or does that even come into play? Because you see that a lot,
Right.
At least in the major leagues. But, on the college level, because you've got 3 really good catchers.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So
Four.
I was
We
just
got
curious.
4.
Yeah, 4. True. Yeah,
Yeah.
4 really. But, when you game plan, does that come into play at all? I prefer, Matt over Taggart, anything like that. I was always curious when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the big leagues and you got like, AJ Ellison, Clayton Kershaw, and that's just a dynamic battery, right? Like that's one thing. But for, me, I'm just lucky to be here. I'm happy to be here. I don't care who's behind the dish. I'm just trying to do my job. And so Matt Klein, absolute dude. Taggart Tyson, absolute dude. George Baker, dude. Colin Mowry, dude. I mean, you could put any one of those guys behind the dish, and we're going to be a successful duo. And I think you could say that for any single pitcher on the team. Like we practice with them so much, we grind with these guys so much that it's like, man, like it's a brotherhood that is nothing that you can compare it to, right? We go to war with these guys, like whether it's Taggart behind the dish, Baker, Matt Klein, Colin Mowry, even Zion. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you have no fear, no hesitation that they're going to lay their life on the line for you. So, no, I don't have a preference. I just love competing with each one of them, and it's a cliche answer, but man, it's so true. So lucky to be with guys that are as talented as them, because I mean, it's rare to be in a group like that, and it's rare to have guys that are just again as freaking talented as all 3 of them are. Or 4 of them. So yeah,
It's just crazy. Like you see what George did in the midweek last week.
right.
Not only at the plate, but behind the plate. I mean, it
Right.
was just one of those performances that just makes you say, "Wow!" And then you look at, okay, you still have Matt, you still have Taggart. I mean, it's
Right.
a loaded roster. Like it is insane. But my other question, kind of, apart from just your daily planning and how you prepare for a start, what's Dan like on a daily basis? Because the fan base gets to see him, do his coach's show, but like I don't think this fan base really gets to see that daily interaction like you guys do on a daily basis. So like
Yeah.
even just baseball aside, like what is that like being able to talk to a guy as accomplished as he is on a daily basis?
Man, I've been around a lot of coaches. I've talked to hundreds of coaches, transfer portal, high school. Like, I mean, I've been around a lot, and there's really not a lot of coaches in college baseball that are bad or anything. Like, that's not what I'm getting at. I think with Coach McDonnell, it is another level I mean, you are dealing with a guy that is a man of faith, a dude that lives his life above reproach and is completely bought in on the success of each individual guy. Can you say that about any person, like in your day to day life? Like maybe a couple, but like when the buy-in is so real from him and it's so infectious, it's like we have these pregame meetings and it's like, man, I want to run through a brick wall for that dude. And I've only been with him for 10 and a half, 11 months. So it's like the impact that he's had on my life, even giving me the opportunity to be here and trust me to be after not even I've had really no collegiate starts, like throwing me the ball on Sunday versus Arizona was one of the greatest moments of my life. And for that dude to have trust in me, like again, it just goes to show like you as a player at Louisville, you were handpicked, you're hand selected by someone that's the best at his craft for a reason, and he lives his life the exact same way. I mean, there's not enough good things I can say about him. So if I ever see hate on him, it's like you're it's like you're hating on one of your best friends or a mentor. Like it's personal. It gets personal for each one of these guys on the team. So again, a punch to him is like a punch to everyone else, right? And man, he is. There's a lot of people that I look up to, but he's one of those guys where, man, if I ever get into coaching, I'm running my program the exact way to a T that he does. There's not one thing I could change, and I wouldn't necessarily say that about other places.
I have another question. It's a little bit of a loaded question.
Yeah,
It can be answered a few ways. At Louisville, we're known a lot for our basketball, and a lot of fans that are more casual on the baseball side of things. That usually some people start watching in April, so some people may have not seen this team and what we have here this year. You being on the team, how would you like to define this year's team, just to let them know like what you're all about?
Yeah, a bunch of dudes that will win at all costs, and they'll do it the right way. It's not like we're gonna, get and cheat and like that's not our thing like other places are. It's like no, like these guys are grit, like filled with grit, a lot of conviction, and the will to win is just it's at a different level. Like 1 through 9, even the guys on the bench, the guys in the pitching staff, it's like there's no time or no allowance in the culture to feel sorry for yourselves. Like one of our sayings is championship set, like championship reps, championship mindset. Like if you're going to have a buy-in on that and you're going to be a team that wants to make it to Omaha, like you see behind me, like the room I'm in, like you need to have a culture that is mudita. Like you find joy in other people's success. There's not one guy on this team that wants to see someone else fail for an opportunity for themselves. That's just not a thing. Which again, in the world of athletics as a whole, like you can't say that about a lot of places. And it starts with Coach McDonald. Like he built the culture and he's had that culture going since 2007. And this year's team is just, we are so bought in on every single level. And I'm really excited to see where this place goes and where this team is going to go. And there's no expectations. There's no not necessarily goals, but we're a process oriented team. We have a purpose, and our purpose is to win. Our purpose is to play high quality baseball, and we'll just see where that takes us. So championship reps is our daily motto. We're doing everything each day, in and out, trying to win the day, win the moment, win each pitch.
And that's so before the season started, like you heard a lot of good things about what this team had did in the offseason, and it's obviously shown. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, from day one, the first game against Texas, we saw that will to win. We saw that fight. And, any sports fan, no matter who you pull for, they've heard coaches and players say, this year's different, all that, and for a lot of teams, sometimes it is. But with y'all this year, you saw it early. I mean, you've seen the grit, you've seen that will to win on multiple occasions with this team, and it. Even the first game against Texas, like as good of a baseball game as that was, and even though we won the game, like it changed how I viewed this team that instantly
Mm,
because in I know you weren't here the last few years, but at times Louisville baseball fans will tell you it didn't feel like those teams had that grit,
right.
that will to win like you guys have shown. So, you know, as a fan, I appreciate that because you see it. I mean, this team has been so much fun to watch. And, all the work that y'all put in, thank you. Because I mean, we as a fan, we want that and you see it. So thank you. Because, and Dan had mentioned this in a interview he had done at some point that, before the season started, the team got together and, they embraced that championship mindset. And it's March 17th. The season's still
Right.
young. But if you ask me, I see those tendencies and those traits of a very good college baseball team. So thank you
Yeah.
as a
Yeah. Does
fan.
it? No, of course. And, it doesn't just start with me. And it starts with just the culture and the guys that came back as returners, but also the transfers and, the freshmen too. I mean, the buy-in from the freshmen is unreal. I've said it so many times. I'm so pumped to be with such a young, talented group of guys that didn't come in and have the freshmen frenzy. Like, they're coming in, they're ready to compete. They're knocking at the door for a lot of jobs of the older guys. And I mean, that just pushes you to be better every day. And so I want to give a lot of the credit to the guys on the team for buying in on that culture. And obviously it starts with Coach McDonald and the buy-in that he has with all of us too.
So I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
But as you prepare for, the first conference road trip against a good Virginia Tech team, we've seen what they can do at the plate.
Mm.
What are you most excited for this coming weekend?
The opportunity to compete again. I get the bug to pitching the minute I'm off the mound, right? So it's like when you're in the moment, you're like, ah, man, like, let me get off the mound. Let me get off the mound because you want to be, as you want to create length for your team, but you also want to win the game quick, right? But then the minute you're off and you're like, okay, you know, I'm looking forward to next week. I try not to ride the highs and I try not to ride the lows. And so for me, my next, my favorite game is my next game. To quote from Denzel Washington that I heard a couple weeks ago that, I mean, it's so true. Like, you can't get too high or too low on the outing you had the week prior. Bad outings are going to happen. That's just the nature of the game, right? But for me, it's the opportunity to be with these group of guys, and continue on the path that we've had, right? And it starts with pitching, but man, the opportunity to play at this level in this environment with these guys, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and taking that one day at a time, and really focusing on the present moment is key for me because I want to enjoy every moment that I'm in the Louisville jersey.
Absolutely.
We for sure enjoy watching you in a Louisville jersey. Like I told you the night after Arizona, I can't express how happy I am that you chose us.
I appreciate it. I mean, there's literally nowhere else on earth I'd rather be. And again, like, God's grace in my life has been incredible because just with the story that I've had with the previous two places and being at an all-time low that summer, didn't necessarily know if I was going to be able to get an opportunity to play high-level collegiate baseball. And again, through God's plan and miracle, and obviously Coach Williams coming into my life, and then now being in this position has been um, one of the greatest experiences I could have ever asked for. So just blessed to be here each day. I'm lucky to be donning the jersey, and I feel like basically everyone else on the team feels the exact same way, which again is an awesome thing. So.
Well, Peter, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Thank you again. Would love to do it again sometime. And as always, go Cards.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you.
Peter Michael, ladies and gentlemen.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Appreciate him coming on. I know he's got a obviously busy schedule. We've been trying to line up with schedules for a while, so glad he could come on tonight. And I mean,
What better of a night after what he did yesterday?
I
One
mean,
hit, they're 6 1/3.
and he touched on, he had a few walks, but like watching that game, he was so in control. Like they couldn't hit him. I mean, yes, he had a few walks, but they couldn't hit the ball. So I mean, that just shows,
The thing
you
was,
know, how,
he would walk someone, he'd turn around and throw 3 strikes right down the.
yeah, exactly. So an outstanding performance yesterday from him.
I don't think North Carolina had a man past first base until the 5th inning.
Yeah, I mean he was dialed in. I mean he had 7 strikeouts to go along with only 1 hit of his entire outing. So again, appreciate him coming on.
4 strikeouts would he have had when he had like a 1-2, 0-2 count and they flew out?
Oh, I know. I mean it was one of the, at least against a top 10 team like North Carolina is, like it was one of the best pitching performances we've seen in a little while. So awesome stuff. I mean, and like we've said all, coming into the year, you felt good about 2 of your starters. And so far up to this point, we have seen that every weekend. I mean, two great pitching performances. And, we're going to talk about it as we kind of recap, but yes, we lost the game the second game of the doubleheader on Friday, but Parker looked good. I mean, he did. I mean, sorry, not Parker. Jack. Sorry. Jack looked really, really good in his first start against a very good college baseball team. And, we've seen what he can do up to that point, and we don't know what the status of Parker is moving forward. But if Jack is your Saturday starter, you're going to be in good hands. And, you're going to see his stamina increase. You're going to see that pitch count, increase as he continues to get more starts. And you're going to see his confidence increase as well, because, it's a completely different mindset when you come out of the bullpen compared to, starting the game. And I thought he handled that really well for his first start against the top 10 team.
As we discussed, North Carolina jumped out 3-0. And then I think the cameras like zoomed in on Jack's face. Jack was smiling. Jack was fine. It's just they jumped on him in his first collegiate start. He's a freshman. We got to remember that. In the second inning and the third inning, he came out and he was fine. Like, I think he allowed 2 on base in the third, 1 on the second, but he didn't allow any runs. And at no point did he seem out of control.
Yeah. And, like I said, moving forward, you have to feel really good about the staff. Hopefully Parker can come back soon. But until then, you're in good hands. Like, I was so impressed with Jack on Saturday, or second game on Friday, even in the loss. And, and one thing I want to touch on real quick with last week's midweek game, Dan threw out a lot of younger arms. And, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it Lessman who started?
Yeah.
I think he pitched three scoreless innings. And he's been a guy this year that in relief, he's gotten outs. And, I was impressed with his performance last week. I wanted to mention that, even though it was 3 innings, you're going to get a lot of that in the midweek. And I didn't want to, leave that untouched, because he did have a good start last week. So I wanted to give him the proper shout out there.
While we're highlighting the midweek, we need to talk about West. He got to start during the midweek too. We had 2 midweek games this week.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that you and I had talked about, previously is, what do you do now? Do you start, a Justin West, or do you leave him in the pen? And in the midweek, you can start a guy and let him run 2 innings, and that's his bullpen session for the week as well. So, until we see, a more, steady weekend rotation, you're going to see a lot of, moving parts on the mound in the midweek. And I think you're in good hands. Like that was one thing that I was really, happy to see last week, at least against Oakland, is I want to see those younger arms, especially when you have 2 midweek games in the same week. It's tough because you had your first conference weekend, coming up right after it. So you didn't want to, burn a lot of your better arms before the weekend. And I thought the staff handled that really well last week. So I wanted to give them a shout out there because a lot of guys threw, especially in that game against Oakland, and they got outs. There wasn't really a bad inning, so to speak. There weren't many walks. I'd have to double check, but it didn't feel like there was many. So shout out to those guys. And while we're talking about last week, we got to mention George Baker.
Oh, huge.
He threw out, I believe, 3 runners.
I think it was 3.
Yep, 3 runners. And then he hit a absolute moonshot that still has not landed. And, I don't know if you saw, but as soon as he hit that baseball, like he knew. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, or just outside of Charleston, and I feel like I heard the ping off the bat when that ball left.
Which ball do you think went further? His ball that he hit in the midweek, or Zion Rose's ball he hit Friday?
I'm not sure. Like they both went a long ways.
They
like even
over 400.
Yeah, even Monroe's grand slam.
I think was 47 on his grand slam.
Yeah, so his wasn't too far, and awesome. Another shout out there. I mean, grand slam, and that come from behind win on Friday in game 1 kind of goes back to what Peter was talking about. Like this team has a different mindset, especially when they get behind. You don't ever really feel out of it, because kind of like we saw in that first weekend. There's been games where it'll take a few times through the lineup, but when this lineup finds their groove, they are so dangerous. And, in that first game against North Carolina, you and I were talking about it. The first 3 innings, they came out with a different type of energy. It was awesome. And then they didn't let, the 4-run deficit get in their way, because North Carolina got up 7-3. Next thing you know, Louisville's got the bases loaded and nobody out. And
talk about shout out that Friday game. And I'm going to say it because I told you. I'll say this. If Jack Brown's you're starting for Saturday until Parker's back, Ethan Eberle has earned some innings.
He has. I mean, he was phenomenal this past weekend. And, to Dan's credit, too, like Dan had said, I think it was last week on his call-in show, that, he was a guy that he wanted to see pitch more. And they just, unfortunately, hadn't been able to get him on the mound as much. And sure enough, he gets his opportunity and he shows out. and you've been preaching it, at least to me all season, like his time's coming. And he got his opportunity and he took full advantage of it. So in just a few minutes, we'll have another friend of the program on. I'm not going to spoil any surprises. But
I think something huge that happened this past week, and Louisville fans, casual or hardcore, will be happy to hear this. Tucker Bivens getting confident again, and it's just the right time.
Yeah, it is.
He had 2 appearances this week, and I don't think he allowed a hit. I think he walked a batter against Oakland, but I don't think he allowed a hit in either outing.
No, I don't think he did either. To finish that first game against North Carolina, and what was such a tight baseball game, I had texted you this. I was like, we'd kept them down the last few innings of that game. And, I was getting a little nervous. I was like, surely, this is a good lineup. They're going to break through eventually. And they didn't. Tucker shut them down and got the save and kind of set the tone for the weekend.
That's another thing. I know we already gave him his props, but Ethan pitched 3 innings that game.
Yeah.
People don't realize he hadn't pitched, I don't think, in 2 weeks. He pitched 3 innings against. That's a top 5 hitting staff. Like top to bottom, they can hit the baseball.
They can, yeah. They've put up some really good numbers.
I think he allowed 1 hit in 3 innings.
Yeah, those are the kind of things, man, that we had talked about before the year started. Is if the bullpen can improve enough with your rotation that you had coming into the year, you had to feel pretty good because you knew the lineup. They were going to be really, really good, and as it warms up, this lineup's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. All right. What up?
What's going on?
He's here.
Well, everyone, Cooper Bevan is here to join us, brother of a Louisville Star. So, Cooper, thank you for coming on. I
No
know,
problem.
I know you have got to see this team a little bit more closely than a lot of people. What are your thoughts right now? Like, obviously, a big weekend win, you get fired up, but you followed this team extremely close the last few years. What's the first thing that jumps out about this team that's different than past?
For me, it's the fact that they're 16-3, and I don't even think all the parts are where they're going to be here in a couple weeks. A couple of the bullpen pieces are just now starting to hit their stride. A couple of the bats, I mean, mainly in the top of the order, still haven't hit their stride. You're talking Lucas Moore and Zion haven't even hit their stride yet. Zion's struggling a little bit. Lucas is struggling a little bit, but some guys at the bottom are picking them up.
Absolutely. Now you saw the
And the starting pitcher has actually been borderline perfect outside of Forbes' start against St. John's has been couldn't ask for anything better.
Now you saw this team the opening weekend, and how fun was that? Like, how awesome was that?
Well, 2-0 through 8, it wasn't feeling too good, and then all of a sudden it all hit at once, and then had a good showing down there too. There's a bunch of fans down there. Friday night, I think, was our opening game. The post game for that was awesome in the hotel with all the team and all the parents. And then kind of a dud the next day. I thought we scored some runs, but just wasn't our day. And then came back Sunday and got another big Sunday win. And by the way, I think Arizona's won 15 out of 16 since we beat them, and I think Texas hasn't lost.
Yeah, they're 17-1. Yeah, and it felt good to see this team start to get some national respect. I thought, after that opening weekend, obviously the schedule is what it is. It's hard to get that national respect, but they opened a lot of eyes this weekend against North Carolina. I mean, you saw it all over X. You saw it, just about anywhere where you can get college baseball news. People were talking about Louisville, and I kept thinking, eventually it has to happen. And because this team, if you know baseball, like this team is good. Like this is a good baseball team, and that's why what Peter did yesterday, man. Like I think it finally kind of broke through and opened up the eyes nationally. Like this team is good, and they have the pitching and the lineup to compete at a high level. So
I get why they weren't really getting the love just because of the last couple of years, but I mean you can't leave them out anymore. I mean they've done more than enough to be inside the top 20.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's kind of look ahead real quick to tomorrow against Northern Kentucky. James, I know you got some info on them. Fire away.
Northern Kentucky comes in 12-6. They have a big win over midweek. They haven't lost a midweek game all year. They have a road win at Indiana. They have two hitters hitting over 400 with Gabe Miranda hitting 444 and Logan Davenport hitting 435. Gabe Miranda has 8 home runs to Logan's 6, and Logan leads the team with 8 stolen bases. So this is a team that they're going to try to get on base and they're going to try to steal bags. They have multiple guys with over 6 stolen bases. But I like I said, Baker threw out 3 people last week. So I'm fine if they try to run.
Yeah, I mean,
I played summer ball with I think he's their closer, Aaron Massey. You got any numbers on him?
I did not have it on.
I got him.
Yeah, I don't know how he's doing. I think he's their closer this year. So
I got their stat sheet right here.
See what's up.
Actually, no, I don't. They only have stats up until start of the year, so they don't have any updated stats for this year on their website. So I cannot find that. But yeah, I mean, James, you hit it. They hadn't lost a midweek game yet. One thing that I've noticed with them, and obviously baseball, when you get when you kind of get on a hot streak, it doesn't really matter who you play. But this team's won 6 straight, and in 2 of those games, they've scored more than 15 runs. So, you see it all the time in midweek games. Like, Louisville's, they're not going to throw their guns. They're going to, throw some younger guys like we saw last week. And, you see it on a weekly basis in college baseball. The power schools get beat a lot. So I think this is, a game where keep the mindset, keep the same mindset you had this past weekend, take care of business, and then get ready to go up to play what I think is a pretty sneaky Virginia Tech team.
I like to see someone step up and take the midweek starting position too. You can't really. It's not. I mean, the good Louisville teams had their midweek guy, and he threw every week. It seems like it's a revolving door the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Need someone to step up and take that midweek spot, because playing from behind against these teams, I mean, it tightens you up even more when you're playing, Morehead State and they're up 3 runs, Butler's up 3 runs, you get even more tight.
Absolutely. And James and I had talked about that a lot, really before the season started is coming in on the weekend, you've got at least 2 really good arms, maybe 3. And if you can find that 4th guy for the midweek, that's what separates, those good teams from great teams. And
then you don't have to throw your bigger guys out of the bullpen too when they get off to a good lead and run.
Exactly. So, I'll ask you, I mean, who are some guys you think that can take that spot moving forward?
I think they're going to give Hartman for sure another shot at it. I think one guy I think that could do it would be Crawford, the righty freshman. I'm not unsure of his first name, but I know his last name's Crawford. He's looked good out of the bullpen, just going right at guys' fastballs, daring them to hit it. He got hit a little bit last outing, but throwing strikes, can't ask for much more than that. At least he's not putting guys on base like the last couple of years in 4 pitches.
What'd you think about Jack getting the start this weekend?
Oh, I knew it was going to be him or Cutts, but I'm pretty shocked it wasn't Cutts. But I mean, it's going to be one of them. If Detmers can't go, it'll be one of them too. But I think they like Cutts in the long relief role, because obviously Tucker is in the back end of that, and I just don't know if they are trusting any other righties to do the long relief or the bridge guy. So I think they're going to try to keep Cutts in the bullpen. From what I can see, I couldn't tell you. I don't know exactly, but that's what I think they're trying to do, is keep Cutts in the bullpen. And if Jack has to start,
if Parker gets back,
what'd you say?
Jack an option to start in the midweek if Parker gets back?
I think we need him in the bullpen as a righty, but maybe if it's a bullpen game and he didn't get many innings in the weekend, he could start. They've been trying to do the bullpen games in the midweek, which I don't really like. I'd like to find someone that can give you 4 or 5 innings every week. But I think we need Jack in the bullpen for the weekend. Be my opinion. I mean, he's a freshman. He's going to get hit, but he pounds the zone, dares you to hit his stuff. He's been really the first righty out of the bullpen all year as a freshman. So him or Cutts.
Yeah, I mean, what he did that opening weekend, I mean, first appearance in college baseball.
He came in and just showed out against Texas.
So, I mean, I was happy to see him start. I mean, at least until we know more. I mean, if he is that guy, I mean, I think the ceiling is there is no ceiling. I mean, I think he has all the tools to be, that next Louisville great on the mound. Now, as we kind of look at Virginia Tech really quick, they've already played 2 ACC series. And I'm looking at their most recent updated stat sheet. James, I know you broke down them a little bit as well. But in ACC play, they've got 4 guys hitting over 300, 1 over 400. So, they put up some numbers. I think in their games their game last weekend, they lost 2 out of 3, but in the final they scored 20 runs. So this team can hit. I mean, they're going to come to play. And even the last few years, they've been a pretty good baseball team. Like, they've been a team that can pitch and score some runs. So, I think the last time we went up there, it was a battle all weekend. I think 2 years ago we went up there, and I think at that time they were a top 10 team. But I remember that it was 3 baseball games that were awesome to watch and all competitive. So when I look at this year's team, the first thing that stands out, I'm not even going to worry about the record. I mean, they're 2-4 in ACC play, but I'm not worried about it because I know that in this league you can lose to anybody any weekend. And when you look at what they do at the plate, there's some numbers that stick out. James, I know you found a few things. You want to share those?
Sam Tackett's hitting 471 so far through 19 games.
Yeah, I remember him.
He got 25 RBIs in that. And through 14 games, Jackson Cherry's hitting 371. And that's just highlighting their two best batting averages. I think that 5 of their top 9 normal batters are hitting over 300 right now. So they get on base. So it's important for the 3 starters this week to be able to come in and shut down the batters for 5 to 6 innings and allow the bullpen to spread out. Don't make people have to overpitch to allow usage to be work out. As Cooper had highlighted, we had been using bullpen during the weekend, so let's try to rest as much as possible.
Sam Tackett for Virginia Tech. Here's a number that stands out. In 6 ACC games, he has 3 home runs and 6 RBIs. Like, we're facing a good team. Like, that's why I'm not really focused on what your ACC record is in March.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got to come ready to play, like you got to pitch, you got to have that same mindset you had against North Carolina. Because, I mean, as we know, if you don't, you can lose 3 games in a weekend pretty quickly. So,
Yeah.
And especially if you look at the schedule coming up, that's why I think this weekend against Virginia Tech is so important. You take care of business this weekend. You've got some games coming up that you should take care of, and you're going to put yourself in a really good spot in ACC play. Because if you kind of look at the schedule big picture, like the back half of the schedule is tough. I mean, you've got Clemson and Florida State at the end of the year. So, games like this against Virginia Tech team, which you are better than, you should be able to take care of business and, get the series win. That's just my opinion. But this is a good baseball team. Anybody out there watching, don't let that record deceive you in ACC play. This is a good team, and you've got to be ready to play.
Yeah, a sweep. Need to start getting back to the sweeping days of Louisville baseball too. I don't think this team is going to settle for just making the tournament. I think they want to host. I know the fans want to host. We haven't hosted since when?
2019.
2019. So, I mean,
yeah.
I don't think they're going to. I don't see this team settling for that. If that makes sense, and that starts with getting sweeps and taking care of 2 out of 3, and then obviously avoiding getting swept is also another big part of it. But this weekend, I think we're the better team. I think a sweep is on the table, but 2 out of 3 would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing is in ACC play, especially if you can win the first 2, find a way, man. It's kind of like on the flip. If you lose the first 2, you got to pull teeth just to get one.
Breaking announcement, boys.
What's that?
Evan Hampton just tweeted he's staying home. Go Cards.
Oh, so that is not the commit I was expecting, but I will take it.
Sorry to interrupt you mid thought. It came across the top. I was like, I gotta say it.
Wow, that's big.
Fill me in on that. I don't really follow the recruiting because there's so many football recruiting.
He's that Winsboro Catholic kid, the 4-star running back.
Yeah, 4-star running back.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Brady tweet earlier. We got our guy or something, but I didn't see anything on it after.
Yeah,
that.
So I'm not going to say his name, and I'll text you privately, but I thought it was another kid they were going after at the same position. But, hey, this Evan Hampton, I know we're talking baseball, but real quick, Evan Hampton, I mean, he was being heavily pursued by Michigan here as of late. And once again, Jeff Brom and the staff, they have done an outstanding job with this 26 class so far. It's early, we know, but wow, big time commitment. I will take it. I will take it.
Keeping the boys home.
That's right. I don't want to get too far into it, but the in-state recruiting has been awesome as of late, and hats off to Jeff and the staff. But back to baseball, man. Well, actually, let's do this because I want to get we're a Louisville show, so I want to get y'all's opinion on what happened last night. We hadn't talked basketball much. We need to talk about it. Let's get our frustration out. I've tried to move on, but as PG as we can be, what was y'all's thoughts last night?
So I've had time to figure out a politically correct response to this. I'm not as mad about our seed. Here's what I'm mad about. We beat Clemson twice. Their best win is not great. Their best win's Duke, which is okay, but you lost at home to South Carolina. So their best win's better than ours, but their worst loss is drastically worse. Because they lost to Georgia Tech too, and Georgia Tech's our worst loss.
My whole thing is, all right, the first ACC team that popped up was Louisville, 8 seed. So you're thinking, all right, they don't think much of the ACC, which most, including us three, probably don't. But that's okay. So then you're thinking, okay, where are they going to put Clemson? Put them at the 5. That doesn't add up. Then you put Duke as the number 2 overall seed. That's the opposite of what you did to Louisville. And then they put North Carolina in the field. You can't. That is just all over the place.
20 and 13
wrong.
North Carolina.
And I'm fine with UNC getting in. I think they are better than some of those other teams that got left out. But don't put them in and then put us at the 8 line. Like, that doesn't even add up whatsoever. No. Especially against playing Auburn's second game. I was hoping we had a path to the easier path to Sweet 16, but it's going to be.
They gave us the highest seeded 9 seed. We got Creighton. Creighton's a good team.
Yeah. If we didn't play Creighton, I would just like to think to myself that, hey, they're trying to do us a favor, keep us in Lexington, but then you give us Creighton, who was ranked in the top 25 last week. We're literally playing a ranked team first game in the 8-9
It made me even madder when AP came out today and we were ranked 10th.
Oh, I knew that was coming. I texted one of my buddies this. As soon as the bracket was released, I said, we'll be a top 10 team in the AP tomorrow too. Like, it's – and I'll be honest, when they threw up Auburn and Lexington, my heart just stopped. I said, here we go. Like, and then you see our name come across in the 8 line. Like, I couldn't enjoy it because, one, it happened so fast. I was shocked we were the 8. So I just I grabbed the remote and I turned it off. I didn't watch another second of that. As soon as I saw we were the 8, part of me was like, all right, well, the ACC only got 3 in. But then I thought about it. I was like, North Carolina's in. Like, North Carolina, if they win 20 games, they're going to get in the tournament. It's just how it is. And then, of course, the AD is the committee chair. He gets the bonus if they get in. Like, that selection show, the committee, in my opinion, D-. And that's being nice. Like,
you all agree with this. I think if you're an active athletic director, you should not be allowed on that committee. Because if you look back at 2021, Mitch Barnhart was in that same spot as North Carolina's AD, and he left us out. We're the first team out. You don't think him being the chair helped that?
And they say, he wasn't in the meetings when we were discussing North Carolina, but you don't think those guys hang out outside of work? You don't go to breakfast, coffee, lunch together? Like, this is just crazy.
But I had the realization today. It was around 2:00. I said, I'm done thinking about it. I'm done stressing about it. Let's just go prove them wrong, win some basketball games. And
we got an hour drive down there. I mean, we'll have 12,000 people there on Saturday if we can get it done.
Oh, for sure.
I firmly believe we'll have 10,000 there.
Did you see that Auburn fan that said that there's going to be more, that they're going to try to get more Auburn fans in there than us if they play us?
Good luck.
No chance.
I mean, and Auburn fans travel. I will give them that. I think that they're one of the more underrated fan bases as far as, showing up. But Auburn fans travel. They've got alumni all over the place. So they'll be there. But I think it'll be 70-30. Mm-hmm. And that's on the low end. It's going to be it's going to be red. I mean, we're going to paint red.
They might take up their lower bowl seats, but it'll be pretty red up top.
For sure. We had a comment I wanted to throw out real quick. Kyle, good friend of the program, he mentioned Alex Gray last week in the midweek. He was impressed by him, and that was another arm again that we hadn't really seen a whole lot this year. That Dan said last week, be ready to start seeing some of these guys, and that was another one that pitched well last week. So wanted to shout out that. Are you going to Blacksburg this weekend? Are you going to be staying?
I was always I coach baseball. I'm assistant at New Albany baseball. So this was my last free weekend, and I always plan on going, but quickly realized it was the first weekend of March Madness, so that's off the table now.
There you go. Well, I've had my experiences in that town. I could care less to ever go back, but hopefully, we can get it done. I mean, it's a big weekend. Like Louisville sports are fun again. It's across the board: football, basketball, of course, baseball team. And I think the fan base. I try to look at the crowd and Cooper. I know you see it a lot more because you're there, but once it warms up, I think we're going to really see the fan base embrace this baseball team. Friday was a great crowd, which you really don't.
It was nowhere near a sellout, but I bet it was half full, which is a pretty good crowd.
And you could hear it on TV. The roar was different on TV this weekend.
Yeah.
And
they booed at every ball. Every time they called a ball, they booed.
So, I'm hoping Louisville can get some warmer weather consistently. And
I think it's going to be 70 tomorrow. I bet there's going to be a crowd.
And it's an in-state. Yeah, it's an in-state school. So if you don't have anything to do, go. I mean, go watch you can go to the baseball game, and then you can go home and watch for free. It's a non-conference game. It's free. Go see a free baseball game, and then go home and watch the first of the first 4 games. It's a perfect afternoon for baseball.
Gosh, that's crazy. We got first 4 tomorrow, so they find out 6 p.m. Sunday that they have a game in Dayton on Tuesday. That's nuts. I know it's always like that, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Who do we got? North Carolina, Xavier. Who's the other 11 or 12 matchup?
Texas plays Xavier. North Carolina plays San Diego State.
Texas got in? I didn't know Texas got in.
Yeah. That was another one that made 0 sense. I mean,
SEC.
Which it didn't really get talked about because both LSU and South Carolina turned it down. But the fact that a 12-20 got an automatic bid to the NIT in South Carolina, it just crazy. Because of those not many people follow.
It's going to come.
Can we talk about the South Alabama situation for a second?
So, Cooper, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know the full backstory because I could care less about the NIT. But the NIT gave an invitation to South Alabama. Is that right? They gave them an invitation, but then had to pull the invitation because they had already accepted an invite to another tournament.
No. They gave them an invitation thinking that somebody else that was higher up on the list was going to reject it, and that team accepted it. So that invitation became void.
Well,
who turned it down? Did anybody turn it down? Did IU turn it down?
I didn't see IU on there.
I'm sure IU turned it down because since they didn't get in, I'm sure they got an invite.
They're trying to get going on their search.
But yeah, it's power schools should just avoid the NIT at all costs. It just doesn't make sense right now, especially in the landscape of sports. Start recruiting. It's even the Dave Padgett team that when he was the interim at Louisville and they got left out, I was kind of upset they accepted an NIT team, an NIT bid. Even that was before the portal and all that. You're a power school. You should only be worried about the NCAA tournament. Let the smaller schools play in the NIT and start getting ready for next year. That's just my opinion. But as we circle back to baseball, what are y'all's thoughts for this weekend? Let's be honest. Do y'all think we take care of business? Do you think we sweep? How do you feel?
I think we take 2 out of 3. Sweep would be nice. Yeah, I think a 2 out of 3 is a realistic expectation for the weekend. Hopefully, we take care of business tomorrow too. I'd like to have a sweat-free weekday game tomorrow. It's been stressful out there on Tuesdays.
Yeah, it has.
I hope with the momentum we have, I feel like you'd like a sweep, you need a 2 out of 3. You can't afford to lose this coming off what happened this.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 you got to have. I mean, if what you want to do as far as hosts, you got to take care of these weekends. I mean, Virginia Tech's, what are they, middle of the pack to bottom of the pack range in the ACC?
Right.
You got to
Win the
series
first 2
because you got series later in the year that 2 out of 3 is a massive win.
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of hinted at this earlier, but we had Micah on last week, and he was kind of talking about, the ACC as a whole, and Cal's not very good. Boston College, he said, wasn't very good, but then, of course, they took 2 out of 3 from Virginia. But you look at, after this weekend, you've got Cal that comes to Louisville, and then you also have BC the following weekend that comes to Louisville. So, if you take care of business on the road this weekend, you've got 2 back-to-back home weekends after that where you can really start to build yourself some cushion, going into April, which, again, I mean, at the end of the year, you've got Wake Forest, you've got Clemson, you've got Florida State. So, you've got to take advantage of, the Boston Colleges and the Cals of the world, and, of course, the Virginia Tech, because you're a better baseball team than them. They are good. They can score runs. But you got to take 2 this weekend, and I'll say it. I think this team is playing with a different confidence level that we haven't seen in a while. Give me the sweep. I want to see Creighton's broom. I want him to send me a video of his broom because I know he'll have it.
Oh, he said he's matured and he's past those days. Is his words.
Okay.
Yep. What if that gets a new broom?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see it.
Yeah.
Hey, next home weekend, we'll see him out there with the broom. It'll happen. So, but anything else y'all want to touch on real quick? Y'all good?
No, I haven't got anything else. I'm excited to see the bullpen finally. A couple of those guys get their breath under them. And really, they were lights out last weekend.
Yeah.
Or this
Absolutely.
past weekend.
I talked about Brad about it. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about how well Ethan played Friday.
Everly's lights out. I don't even think a runner got on base after he came in.
Because, I mean, he stopped the bleeding, and he allowed, us to keep them at 7 runs and prevail. And, of course,
he plays with some swag, too. Nods his head, gets fired up. I love it.
And, of course,
then right into Wyatt. Wyatt's been awesome. I don't think he's given up a run.
Yeah.
Every time he goes out, it's like ERA 0.00.
So
9 appearances, 0.06.
Yeah. But guys, I mean, we've been preaching it, but anybody out there that has not gone to Jim Patterson to see this team play, do it, especially tomorrow. Free baseball game. Because yeah, it's going to be warm in Louisville tomorrow. You've got, again, an in-state school. Go out, support the baseball team because, this team is fun to watch. And if you haven't really been able to watch them yet because of work or basketball or anything else, like I'm telling you, jump on the bandwagon now because this team is a lot of fun and they're only going to get better. So
we didn't even touch on.
Is IU our midweek?
Next week, the midweek is actually next. So Cincinnati's next week, and then IU's in 2 weeks.
Cincinnati's a good team.
Yeah, I mean, remember what they did to Duke the opening weekend. So, that's another team that in that midweek it's going to be important. You have some guys ready to roll the mound, and you can score some runs. So that's the thing with this team. Like before we get off here tonight, like. I feel like this team can score on just about anybody. Like they can hit just about anybody, and there's no hole in this lineup. And we saw it last week. Whether it's Matt behind the plate, Tiger behind the plate, or George behind the plate, you feel good. I mean, so we preached it all off season. Like this team's got talent, this team's got depth, and we're starting to see that. I think the bullpen especially has improved. More than I thought they would at this point. The rotation has been there, and they're only going to get better. They're only going to get healthier. And, this team it could be a fun summer for Louisville baseball. So,
Yep, I'm excited for the rest of the
absolutely. Anything else from you guys? Y'all good?
I'm gonna leave y'all with one bold prediction. Over the next 3 weeks, we got 12 games, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We got Virginia Tech, Cal, and Boston College, and then you got NKU, Cincy, and IU. I think we go 10 out of 12. That puts us as 28-5, and we're top 10 in the country here in 3 weeks.
I'll take it.
I'll tell you. I could see.
Let's do it.
Honestly, I'd raise you one. I could see us going 11-1.
Hey,
I can see that too. I think that the difference between 11-1 and 10-2 is this weekend.
Yeah.
I think. For me.
for sure. Because that's the thing. You win 2 this weekend. I mean, you have to feel great, especially within that stretch, because you got to take care of business in the games that you should win. And this is one of those where, Virginia Tech calls you some problems, but you're a better baseball team. So go get 2 and get ready for another homestand. So, as always, go Cards. We will be back next Monday, kind of breaking it down, the midweek tomorrow, and then, of course, what happens against Virginia Tech. And we'll definitely have a little basketball segment as well, as it's tournament time. So, James, you got anything else? You good?
I think that's it. Cooper, you're going to have to come back on again. It's good talking to you.
Sounds good. I'll be back next week. Just give me a text.
Sounds good, man. We appreciate you coming on.
All right.
Thank you all for watching. Again, thank you for Peter for joining us. But other than that, as always, go Cards, and we'll see y'all next week.
Go Cards.
See you later.